Welcome to the Not On My Watch podcast, where real-life issues facing the family and the church are addressed with bold and uncompromising truth. It's time to reject the mediocrity of the day, live courageously in the face of danger, and declare, Not On My Watch. Here are your hosts, Jeff and Rochelle Ferguson.
Welcome to the Not On My Watch podcast. We're Jeff and Rochelle, and we're pumped to be with you today. Yes. Thanks for listening wherever you listen. We're kind of starting a new series of podcasts.
Which is my love language series.
Yes, I was going to say, okay, so we're speaking Jeff's love language.
Oh, man,
and the way to speak mine is that we don't know how many it'll be, so...
We could be in this for 24 weeks or 4 weeks. We don't know.
I can guarantee you it won't be 24. But yeah, we're really not sure exactly how many we're going to do. So you get the best of both of us in that it's planned and spontaneous all at the same time. But our title of this is No Regrets. And we're going to be sharing with you some decisions that we have made that we have never regretted.
Never regretted. And what got us thinking down this path, we were talking the other day, is we live in a quick fix
I was going to make
society.
a joke.
Go for it.
Like we hadn't planned this joke. It's totally spontaneous. But we got thinking down this because we were talking about all the decisions we do regret. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just teasing.
That was not on the manuscript if we had a manuscript.
We didn't have one.
Anyway.
No, but that would be a funny podcast.
That would be...
Maybe we'll wrap up the series.
Wow, decisions we do regret.
I mean, I really don't have a ton of those, so that's good. But
I have one that come to mind, and it's of no... I won't even go there, but it's of no consequence. It's a silly decision I made in college.
Okay, well... Now I'm like, what is it?
Let's just say it led to a broken arm. That's all
okay.
I'm saying.
Just like a prank.
Not any kind of moral decision.
I was like, I don't know what it is. But maybe we'll save that for the ending.
We'll see.
Or maybe that one will never air. I'm not sure.
Never.
But okay, so we got ourselves thinking down this.
Well, we were talking. We live in such a quick fix society, and often people ask, "What do you do? What is the one thing you do?"
Oh, that happens all the time.
In your parenting or your marriage or your finances or whatever. You could take any topic. And what we
come on, just boil it down. I know you have a lot of things, but boil it down. And I'm like...
Because all of us, let's be honest, we crave kind of this silver bullet solution. If we do this one thing or these two things, then... But what we talked about is that really a lot of life is based upon the cumulative decisions that we make. It's not just one decision, it's not just one thing, but it's these decisions that have a cumulative impact on our life. And we were beginning to talk about this. We're thinking, hey, let's talk about some of these decisions that we don't regret, that have, anyway.
But they're usually just more, I think what you were trying to say...
That I obviously was not successful at saying.
I think what you're trying to say is I think life, what we were talking about is that life is rarely just one decision.
Correct.
Of course, there are one decisions that do change everything, like deciding to follow Jesus. That one decision does change your whole life. Yet it's also a cumulative decision. It's a daily decision to follow Christ.
Absolutely.
So I think about the one decision for us to get married changed our whole life.
Yes.
And we make that decision every day.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
It's rarely a one-time decision, but life is a series of cumulative decisions, and making those same decisions over and over, day after day. And so I want to echo what you said. People ask me this all the time. Like I got an email yesterday, or maybe, it was yesterday. What day is it? I don't know. Okay. I got an email yesterday asking about, tell me some parenting books that you would recommend, because we're needing these things. Okay.
Good question. Great question.
This is why we're writing a parenting book.
Yes.
We are halfway through. Thank you, Lord. Because I didn't have a whole lot of recommendations. I had recommendations with caveats.
Yeah.
And that's a different podcast. Okay. But I don't even really... Oh, I'm saying this because people are asking us, okay, your kids seem awesome, and they are. What'd you do? Give me your, like, and I'm like, do you have an hour? Do you have 4 hours? Let's talk about it. It's not one decision.
It's not like we do prayer before bed, and that's the thing.
But that's what people want. People want these like one decision things. And so it's a series of cumulative decisions. And we're going to talk about one of those decisions, but I just don't want somebody to say, well, if I do this, then okay, there we go.
That's it. Yeah.
But if you do this, you're going to, I really believe, live a life of no regrets. So
yes.
Here is a decision that we have made that we have never regretted. And this is actually probably a series of decisions, lots of decisions. But
if we could boil it down.
If we could boil it down to one statement,
yes.
And we're going to do it because Jeff had it planned. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just teasing. I actually think I came up with this statement, was to trust God with our family. Trust God to build our family.
Yes.
More specifically.
Trust God to build our family. Yes.
And so we're going to do, one of our podcasts, I think, is going to be about how we trusted God for our spouse. That is not it. And I know you're like, well, you should start with that. Yeah, but I'm involved and we're not going in sequence. So you're just going to have to jump around. So we trusted God to build our family. And so part of this podcast is really going to be story time.
Yeah.
So if you like stories, you're going to love this. I think. I don't know. We'll see. But we were married, and we were married for 5 years before we ever had kids.
Yes. When you're in the moment, okay, 5 years in the moment, that's a long time.
Yes.
It's a very long time.
Now, looking back, I'm like, I can't even remember what that was like, hardly.
Yeah, I mean.
So, like, if somebody said, do you remember that? Like, vaguely. I remember that we could go out to Mexican food whenever we wanted. Like, those are the things I remember. I remember, like, it's kind of vague, but there were moments where we could sleep in. Like, I remember those things very vaguely.
We
used
often look
to
at
mow
each
the
other
lawn.
and say, I did. We ask ourselves, what did we do?
Like, I don't remember.
Another lifetime.
It is. But for 5 years, we it's not that we didn't want to have kids in those 5 years. We wanted to have kids in those 5 years. And in fact, we experienced some pretty deep heartache and disappointment in those 5 years. But we trusted God to build our family.
Yes.
And so I remember, several disappointments.
Yes.
For the, I don't know, for 3 years or so, we thought maybe we would never be able to even have children.
Yeah.
And so we were kind of processing that. I remember us praying about that. I remember that being hard.
Oh, extremely difficult. I didn't even have the words to say. I remember someone said to me, well, what do you think after a disappointment? What do you think about this? And I remember, I don't really know.
Well, I think you're talking about a miscarriage.
Yes.
And I'm talking before that.
Oh, you're going.
I'm talking before that, when we thought, well, maybe we're not even going to be able to even have children, because, like, I don't know, and nothing, nothing's happening. Okay.
Yeah.
So then, we were kind of processing that. I remember throwing baby showers for lots of people at church. And I remember thinking, man, like, there's a part of me that's like, yeah, I would like to do this. Now, I didn't stay home. I'm doing this baby shower and I don't want to do it. No, I just, I wanted that. Then I remember we actually moved, we relocated to Kansas City. We lived there, and it was in Kansas City where we started having miscarriages.
Yeah.
And they were unexplained. Like, it wasn't like, oh,
this is the reason.
Yeah. And so we began to think, okay, all right, we progressed. We're able to, I'm obviously able to somehow, there's a baby, but maybe I'm not able to carry this baby. And so I don't remember us sitting down and having this, like, let's plan our future.
Yeah, no, I don't remember.
Maybe we just don't remember those times. But I do remember going to you, and I remember where we were. I remember we were in the church office. You were employed by the church in Kansas City. I was too.
Yeah,
I was too. Hello. Sorry. And we were in your office, not my office, your office. And I remember us talking, and we began filling out paperwork. We were like, okay, this door that we've been knocking on, it doesn't seem to be opening for us. And so we're going to knock on another door that would totally be in God's will. And we began to fill out paperwork to adopt a child from overseas.
Yeah. I remember that. I remember being excited about it. I remember talking about it. And it's like, wow, this could really happen.
Yeah. And we just started knocking on the door.
Yeah.
We started down that process. I can't really tell you with a great deal of recollection how long that process went on. I don't remember. I just remember we were starting the process, filling out, getting reference forms, getting contact, and there were meetings and things such as that. And we were just knocking. We're like, okay, this door appears to be closing. Let's knock on this door and see if this is what God has for us. And so we started, okay, the door is opened. We got matched, not with a child. We started getting matched with an agency and things such as that. And then all of a sudden I found myself pregnant again.
It's like roller coaster.
Yes.
Like, this way. No, this way.
And I want to say this, though, because I think it's important when you're in situations where you're kind of going, okay, God, I don't know what you're saying. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think what we did, I don't even know if we knew we were doing something right. I don't know. Like, I do feel like it was something right. We were just knocking.
Yep.
We weren't barreling down doors. We weren't knocking doors down that were closed, but we were going to make a way. We were just simply knocking. Say, okay, is this something you have for us? And then letting it in God's hands.
And that's, can I just say, this is what trust looks like. And trust doesn't always feel like, great, I'm trusting God.
It felt pretty bad, actually.
I'm a person of faith. Oftentimes when we're in these moments where we're knocking on doors and they're closed, or we're knocking on doors or whatever's happening, it's a powerless feeling. It's a hopeless feeling. And another thing I think we need to mention here is, we look back and we say, 5 years in that time, and someone could say, well, it's not that bad. That's 5 years. That's not that bad. Looking in the rearview mirror, God's plan always looks manageable. Like,
I've shared this with people at different points, and they're like, oh yeah, but you have 3 kids now, so it's over, right? Sure, like now, 15 years later.
Yes.
But in the moment, it sure didn't feel that way. And I think if you've ever said that to somebody, like, maybe think twice, because honestly, it minimizes the work that God did, the work that God's doing, maybe in somebody that's even listening. Like, we're sharing this because we're hoping, like, I'm not just here to share my story. I'm here to share about who God is.
Yes.
And hopefully it encourages somebody listening. So we just started knocking and saying, okay, God, we're going to trust you. Well, then we end up like, okay, we're expecting another child. And then I began to think, okay, so what do we do? Because nothing's ever worked in the past. Should we just keep going? Well, then the agency that we were working with was like, nope, when you're pregnant, you can no longer adopt with us. And we're like, okay. We knocked, and then the door got closed.
Yes.
And we were like, okay, well, we knocked, the door got closed. Praise the Lord. I carried that baby to close to full term, and she came a little bit early, and she is 14 and a half years old now. But trusting God to build our family, the right timing.
Yes. Oh, that's hard.
And not barreling down a door. If you are familiar with the scriptures, God's going to always give you an opportunity to manufacture an Ishmael yourself instead of waiting for the promise. And I'm so glad that we were just knocking, not barreling. We were just knocking and saying, okay, God, what do you have? What do you have? and trusting him to build our family.
And we're going to always want to rationalize the shortcut or the Ishmael. We're going to always be able to use a Bible verse to back it up. Say, oh, see, this is God. This is actually God's. And I would just guard against that because we want God's will, not ours.
Right. And so that is something I will never regret.
No.
That we just, trusted God. But it wasn't just to build our family like, okay, great.
No, we have kids.
You have kids. That's over. Anybody who's had kids knows it's only begun. Like literally, you're like, oh, I'm so glad that, giving birth's over. Are you kidding? That was like the easy part. Like, and I'm speaking from a mom there. The hard part is raising kids. And this is where we are continually trusting God to build our family.
Oh, absolutely.
And so one of the ways, and again, I know that what I'm about ready to share could just rub some people, and I'm sorry if it does, send me an email. I will respond. I'm not here to rub you wrong. I'm here to hopefully encourage people who are listening because it really, there's some real, you've got to pray about decisions, especially with your kids, because you get a time. That's it. Like, you can't go back and do things differently.
Kids have one mom and a dad. We get this one shot.
Yeah, and I know that sounds like paralyzing. No, but it should be heavy.
Yeah.
So I remember when we had our daughter, I was working, I mentioned full-time at the church, even though I had forgotten. But I did. I worked full-time. And I remember I had some maternity time where I was working from home.
Yeah.
And anyways, so then the time came for me to come back into the office like 5 or 6 weeks after having our child. And I did that at first. And the caveat was that I could bring my baby. So, my baby. So, we did that. We set up a whole nursery zone at church and things like that. And it worked for a time.
Yeah.
It did. It really worked for a time. And then a couple weeks later, it stopped working.
For a very short time.
Yeah. I mean, if you want the honest truth, that's really, it was not easy. I mean, I was nursing and I'd be like, okay, I'm going into the other room, see you in 30 minutes. And, it just became like I was bringing my life back and forth between the home and church.
Yeah. Oh, it was
a lot.
Come into work.
I was like, I need help. Like, y'all are going to have to carry everything with me, And I ended up buying 2 of certain things so that I could have them at different places and stuff. And it had nothing to do, I'm so thankful for our pastor, our church. This has nothing to do with them. It was more me. I just decided I don't want to raise my kid I don't want to raise my kid in church. No, I'm just kidding. Joke.
We made that decision.
That needs to be a real. Okay. No, I wanted...
In the church office.
In the church office.
It's like
I wanted my child to have a routine, a place, to be at home, to be able to play, to be able to be on nap time, to be able to have structure, which is so important.
So important.
We're going to do a whole nother podcast on that. If your kid doesn't have structure, and I'm not crazy, but we're a 10:02, you have to do certain things. I'm just saying, if your kid doesn't have a set place to sleep and things like that, you're setting yourself up for some situations like that. So I went to our pastor. I said, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to resign. This is so important to me that I raise my child.
Yeah.
I was trusting God to build our family, and then I was going to trust God to continue to build our family. I didn't really know how I was going to do that financially. And we needed...
Yes.
We needed my income.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, we did. But we had to, in that moment...
if I could share what you were getting paid, and wonderful. So thankful. But we needed my income. Yes. And so we were like, I don't know how this is going to work out. It did work out. Praise God. Actually, if I could tell stories, I actually ended up making more money. I was able to work from home, and then I was able to work from home another job. And so I was there. We were in my home environment working. And there's actually a lot of miracles in
and
that.
this is why it worked out. We're talking about trusting God to build our family. We're not talking about trusting our intuition. We're not talking about trusting our gut feeling. We think this is the right time.
Or trusting the numbers.
Running the numbers and trusting, stressing about it. No. When we're talking about trusting God to build our family, we are bringing these things to the Lord in prayer, talking about them. And I don't mean to over-spiritualize this, but that's what we did. And there were moments where we had to take steps of faith, say, okay, God, if you're asking us to do this, we're going to do this even though we don't know what's next. And because it was Him inviting us to do those things, to make those decisions, then He took care of that next step even though we couldn't really see it. And
I want to be like maybe a little even more overt of what I was sharing. I decided I didn't want anybody else raising the daughter I had trusted God to give me.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
I did not want someone else spending 40 hours a week with my child, setting up a routine, or 5 hours with this person, 7 hours with this person, 5 hours here with this person on this day, which would create chaos for my child. I was looking long term. What do I want for my child? I believe, honestly, I know that this is so controversial, but I had to lay down some of I have goals.
Yeah, absolutely. I
have goals. I went to college, got a degree, got a master's degree.
Mm-hmm.
I went and got additional schooling that wasn't a degree, but was a certificate thing. These are I have goals. It wasn't like, well, I don't have goals. I just want to, oh my goodness, even just be a mom. Oh my goodness. No, the largest goal.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, this will get me going. The largest goal is I want to see the next generation know Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if I really want that in my home, then
it's a matter even.
I had to lay down some of my desires.
Can we say it's a matter of faith transmission?
Yeah.
It's all of these things, trusting God to build our faith, is a matter of the kind of faith we want our kids to have in Christ.
And I'm telling this story to you listening, but I'm also, I tell this often to my own daughters. Yeah, I had to lay down some things, but thank God, He gives back way more than what we can even imagine.
Oh my! I
learned a new skill. I was able to literally learn accounting because of that time period, and I'm not going to go into all the ways that God provided in that, but I was able to work an accounting job from home, and I was able to do an accounting at the church that was double checked by an outside organization. I always just want to say that. It's like, oh, you did the account. Yeah, okay, but with complete checks and balances, all of that. I just felt the need. Just in case anyone was wondering.
Well, when you say that, my mind's triggering now. Things I forgot about. And oftentimes, it's important you say those things because trusting in God isn't like, okay, I'm going to put it on autopilot, cruise control, and God's going to steer this thing, and I don't need to do anything. Trusting in God requires a lot of work from us. There's going to be decisions we need to make. There's going to be things we need to do. We're going to need to pivot. We're going to need to change course. It requires work. It's not like you're like, yeah, this is easy. Because we're just trusting God.
No, in fact, it was hard for me.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I remember.
It was a difficult decision, but even the execution of that was difficult.
Right.
I did, you hear these things, and if this is a mantra that you have, that's fine. I'm not knocking it, but it was like, nap when the baby naps. No, I worked when that baby was napping. I worked because we had to. I had to.
Absolutely.
And that was actually when you were going back and getting your master's degree, and we were going to pay cash, which is another podcast that we're talking about. We've never regretted.
I remember in this, I remember very vividly the discussion we had. You looked at me and said, you know what? We're going to have to change, after having a child, we're going to have to change some things with our schedule. And, I had to think differently about my schedule. Not I was having to work less or anything, but I needed to get out of my rigid, And so there's the bottom line, when we're trusting God, we just have to, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of changing. It's just, I don't know. It's just a lot of, I don't know how to say it, but it's not cruise control.
No, it's literally, it's an act of faith. Like,
Yeah.
it's action. It's action of faith.
Faith without works is dead.
Yeah. And so it's not just to have a baby, but to build a family. We're still trusting God.
Oh,
we'll do podcasts.
Yep.
Future, talking about even recently the steps that we've taken that are just literally like complete trust. I'm like, God, I don't know. You're asking us to do things. Wow. And this is what God does. He asks us, he shows himself faithful.
Yes.
And then he says, trust me more. And so people ask, how, what do you do? Do you do nightly devotions with your kids? Is that why they're so awesome? I do think my kids are awesome, but kind and wonderful, and they love Jesus and things like that. No, I'm sorry. It's not boiled down to 20 minutes a day. It's not. It's a whole life. It's like, life. You know what? I laid down even some of the things that I desired, and God's gonna.
Yes.
He shows off. So. I guess we just want to say we've never regretted giving the building of our family into God's hands, the raising of our family into God's hands, and saying, okay, I'm going to lay down even some of the things that I desire and see how you do it, God.
When we allow God to build our family, we let go of how and let him choose how. Can I just say the rewards are just so they're unbelievable.
That's why we've never regretted it.
Unbelievable. And that's why we never regretted it.
So thanks for listening. We're going to talk about some other things that we've never regretted in some upcoming episodes. But thanks for listening. Please share, like, and let people know. But thanks for listening to the Not On My Watch podcast.
We'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Not On My Watch podcast. You are a watchman for this time and hour. Don't forget to subscribe and rate this podcast wherever you listen. If you haven't already, head on over to our website, www.notonmywatch.co, for more resources from Jeff and Rochelle. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next time on the next episode. But until then, keep watchful.